From identity theft to family betrayal, my own father put me in financial ruin, and now he begs me not to turn him in. So my dad stole my identity and opened 3 credit cards in my name. He told me that since I'm young, I can do without for a few years. I found that my dad used my information to open 3 credit cards over the last year. So when I went to get a pre-approval for a mortgage, I was told by the lender they wouldn't be able to give me a home loan because of the defaulted credit cards. And they also said I probably wouldn't be able to get a loan from any lender because of it and gave me a sheet of paper explaining what I'd need to do in order to fix it. So when I tried disputing the cards, one of which is already in collections, the disputes got closed out as the debts were verified. I told my divorced parents about it, and their answers were pretty wildly different. So my dad said that these things happen and that I should be more careful in the future with my social security number. Seeing as I've always been careful, that made me pretty mad. My mom said she thinks my dad might have something to do with it since opening credit cards in her name had a part to play in their divorce. She told me he ran up about $50,000 in credit card debt on secret credit cards. A few days ago, I ended up casually telling my dad I'm going to have to file a police report for the credit cards. So he told me I probably shouldn't do that because $15,000 isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. When I told him it was keeping me from buying a house, he said I could just wait a few years until they fell off of my credit report. He said it would only take another 4.5 years. When I told him I obviously couldn't wait that long, so I had to file the police report, he straight up told me not to do it and to just be more careful in the future. Once I told him I already got the paperwork together from the credit agencies, he told me he had opened the cards to pay for living expenses over the last year. He said his work slowed down a little bit, but he'd do what he could to help pay it off. He said it would ruin his life if he went to jail. I'm leaning towards going to the police anyway, but I didn't right that minute. I have everything in front of me today to go make the report. I guess I just want to make sure turning it over to the police is the right thing to do here, especially if I'm wanting to buy a house this year. Top comments. Comment 1, report him for fraud. OP, that's what I'm leaning towards. I'm realizing if I want to buy a house, I can't have those accounts on my credit. Comment 2, if he wasn't your dad, you'd have reported him already, right? Well, think about this. Why didn't he give you the same respect and not ruin your credit because he's your father? Update 1, I spent about half of the day reading everyone's comments, and it pretty much solidified what I was going to do. The process itself was pretty easy. I went to the police department, and the person at the front desk had me wait about 10 minutes before an officer came out. We talked for about 15 minutes, and he made copies of all of the paperwork I gave him. He told me the case would be assigned to a detective on Tuesday and gave me a pamphlet about how to contact the credit agencies. I was given a report number and was told I could use that now to start disputing the accounts. A detective is going to follow up with me in the next couple of weeks. I asked what would end up happening to my dad, and the officer said it looked pretty clear-cut to him, but the charging decision is 100% with the state attorney's office. So it said if they decide to pursue charges, he'll likely get a warrant put out for his arrest. He also said typically if this is his first felony, he's probably going to get some sort of pretrial diversion with court supervision or probation. He probably won't go to jail for years, but if he gets picked up on a warrant, he's going to spend at least a little bit of time behind bars. I've decided I'm okay with that because it's obvious to me he did this purposefully. He's never been arrested before, so hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. At the same time, he completely did this to himself. I'll update whenever I learn more. Top comments, comment 1, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Sincerely hope everything works out well for you. OP, I think it will. From what I understand, it might take a month or 2 for the cards to come off of my credit, but once they do, my credit score should shoot up. Comment 2, well done OP. I was so mad on your behalf reading the first post. It would take everything in me not to use his words against him. Jail time? It's just a few years. You've ruined my life. No, you did it by trying to ruin mine. I hope the marks come off your credit report like it's made of Teflon. Good luck on your home ownership journey. Update 2, there's been some good, a little bad, and a little real bad progress the past few days. To the good, I used my report number and disputed every account. When I checked my credit last, which everyone should be doing regularly, the one with the lowest balance was already off of my account. Then the other cards in the collection account are still showing, but I have hope they'll be falling off in the next few weeks. I also received a call from someone at the prosecutor's office who had a couple of extra questions for me and asked if I would be willing to testify if that would. So I said yes, and they said they would be making a decision on their charges before the end of the month. To the bad, obviously, someone talked to my dad about this because the last time he talked, he scolded me for going to the police and hasn't talked to me since. And one of my brothers was also pretty mad at me about it and hasn't talked to me in over a week. To the rest of my siblings, and my mom understood where I was coming from. The real bad, one of my other brothers, not the one who was pissed, found 2 open credit cards on his credit which weren't his. He checked his credit score for the first time in a couple of years, and he said it was down about 150 points from where it used to be. He's now in the process of dealing with that. He doesn't have any positive proof yet that it was our dad, but the fingers are pointing in that direction. This still blows my mind that a dad could do this to his own children. I'm moving forward though. I still hope to be able to purchase a house before the end of the year. Additional information from OP. Also, I think all of my other siblings, there are 6 of us, are checking their credit too. Probably for the best. New update. This is going to be my final update as it seems like this has gone viral and hit a few different big websites. I'm happy to say my credit has completely returned to normal. All of the disputed accounts are now gone. Obviously, I'm excited about this since it gives me a solid financial future. I also received a letter from the prosecutor's office 2 weeks ago, and they said they are going forward with a charge of what is basically identity theft. I spoke with an assistant prosecutor, and they explained they'd be putting out a warrant shortly, but that as a first-time offender, they'd probably offer a misdemeanor charge and a plea. My dad was arrested last Friday after a traffic stop. He got out of jail the next day and has a new court date in late August, according to the Public Records website. He called me and told me I'm dead to him and to never contact him again. My brother, who found credit cards opened in his name, has made a police report as well. But apparently the addresses are different on the accounts. He was told it was unlikely it would be prosecuted, but he's working on getting them off of his credit. Additional information from OP. Just wanted to give everyone who commented in my other posts a shout out. You have all given me the courage to do this. I'm going to be deleting this throwaway because I really hope to put all of this behind me between the news articles and having no contact with my dad. I don't let things like this sneak up on you. It breaks my heart to do this to my dad, but he did this to himself. Now to the next story, story 2. Am I the A for telling my fiancé that her wedding dress choice is too extravagant and suggesting cheaper alternatives? We are getting married in July of this year. The venue is booked and the wedding is pretty much sorted. Emma has been researching dresses and has a little scrapbook of lots of dresses she likes for ideas, but is now looking to buy. All that's left to get is the bridesmaid dresses and her wedding dress. We jointly put aside $10,000 each for the wedding. Everything is paid and we have $6,000 left over, which I think could go towards the honeymoon on top of the honeymoon fund we already had. So we aren't the extravagant type at all. Then comes the time for Emma to pick her dress. Seriously, I know everything is more expensive when it has the term wedding attached to it. What I wasn't expecting was a $950 dress plus $120 veil. I'm using my dad's old tux he used for his wedding to my mom. Just had it taken in a little. Emma can't use her mom's dress as her, and her mom both say the style has an ulmo, which is fair. I had a quick Google around at dresses online and there were so many just like the one Emma wants for like $5,100. I'm not trying to get her to cheap out on her dress, but she will literally wear it once. One dress for over $1,000 is just insane. That would fund our honeymoon. I tried to show her some dresses I found on a recommended app called Wish and others on websites, but she was having none of it. She is very slender, but apparently wants it specially fitted. It turned nasty, unfortunately, because I said I refused to drop such a large amount of money on a dress, and she argued that she is using her own money for the dress, which isn't strictly true as we ain't about to marry and our finances will be joined. So then her mom had to get involved. They offered to pay for the dress, but it's not a case of not being able to afford it. It's a dress. There are identical ones online at a fraction of the cost. I thought she would be ecstatic to learn there are identical dresses for a fraction of the cost, but she was really angry and upset. And is there something I am seriously missing? Because after we argued about the dress, Emma has been extremely cold towards me. So then yesterday she said if I want her to cheap out on her wedding dress on her wedding day, that she needs to really consider if we're a good match for marriage. I was blown away that she would say that over a dress. I told her she's like a toddler throwing a tantrum over a sparkly toy she can't have. That was a mistake as she left to stay with her parents. Who called to tell me I am much more than an asshole. Told her fiance can get a similar dress for around $100 with shipping online, but wants to blow over $1,000 at a local wedding dress boutique. Am I the asshole for saying to get a cheaper one online? Edit. Emma found some idea it was a mistake to post here, and I'm sorry I posted our problems on Reddit. Ayada the top replies from OP, comment 1, but the gowns I found on Wish looked very professionally made. And very similar to the she's picked. Comment 2, I mentioned the secondhand wedding dress store, and she said no without even going to take a look. Comment 3, that's not fair. I would never tell her what to wear. She can wear what she wants. It is the absurd price that I'm against. Comment 4, see, I can definitely understand caring about the quality of a dress. If it's a work dress or a regularly worn formal dress, I think what everyone's missing is that this will be worn for one day only. Relevant comments. Emma, ask yourself if your fiancé's behavior here is a one-off. There are some concerning things here. His insistence on controlling your purchase, made with your money, even if it's funded by your parents. Is he controlling in other ways? Has he ever been insistent on you spending your time and money only in ways he approves of, And does he usually lash out when you don't do what he wants? The way he's resorting to name-calling because you wouldn't capitulate to his demands, calling you a toddler throwing a tantrum, instead of communicating with you respectfully. This is made especially worse by the fact that his demands are unreasonable and stem from a fundamental ignorance about the subject, wedding gown cost, what knockoffs are and why they're a bad idea, etc., and that he's shutting down your attempts to educate him. Does he normally communicate with you openly and respectfully? Does he normally get angry and verbally attack you when you disagree with him? Are you normally able to have conversations with him on difficult topics that are calm, respectful, and productive, even when you disagree? Maybe you're both cracking under wedding planning strain, and this is an out-of-character moment that you can work through, but maybe this is pointing to a larger pattern. Proceed with caution. Remember you're about to enter into a pretty intense legal and social contract with this man, and that you're signing up for a lifetime of conflict resolution with this person in particular. The way you both approach disagreement and handle conflict now reflects how you'll be likely to continue to do so going forward. Now may be the time to double-check with yourself if this is the right move. Eat it. After reading through the comments, I would also encourage you to look at his behavior here on this Reddit post. His response to new information is not to take it on board and process it, but to double down, plug his fingers in his ears, close his eyes, and refuse to listen. The lengths he'll go to avoid admitting he was mistaken are a bit troubling. It may also be worth asking yourself if there's a reason someone who is so insistent on always being right may have for seeking out a partner who's a decade younger. I'm wishing you all the best, and I hope this works out for you. I thought have a look through the comments to see if anything explained why Emma has blocked me and her phone is ringing through to voicemail. I seriously can't believe people started a witch hunt over a dress. I watched some YouTube videos of wish wedding dresses, and yes, wishes are trash. I got it, I was wrong about that site. But to end up blocked because you have all told her I'm abusive and manipulative's just vile. I called her parents' house and the line's off the hook. So if you see this Emma call me, please, I won't shout, I won't get mad, I just want to end this crap. Get whatever dress you want, I see that I was wrong. I'm sorry, spelling bad had some whiskey. Can you blame me after this? Eat it too. Based on Josh's newest comment about you blocking him on Messenger, it sounds like you're taking some time and space to think things over. I think that's a really good move. There's a quiz from the Love is Respect project that may help clarify your thinking about whether this is a healthy, nurturing relationship. I hope everything turns out well for you, Emma, whatever you decide to do. There's a whole community of people here rooting for you to be happy. The edit 3, it looks like OP has been banned from IATA. He just sent me a furious, invective-filled PM blaming the sub for what's happening in his personal relationship and reiterating that abusive behavior is normal and fine, so I guess he's learned nothing. According to the PM, Emma's dad just called him and chewed him out, so it sounds like at least she has a strong familial support system. Transcript of the PM banned. I'm now banned from Am I the Asshole and good fucking riddance. Her dad just called to cuss me the fuck out. Can you believe I've been trying to not fucking cuss so I don't get banned, so I can at least defend myself, then banned for no reason. I live in the real world where when people are angry, they yell, they save money where they can, and they don't fucking run away and block you. Fuck this, fuck it all, and fuck Emma for believing strangers on the internet over her 2 fucking years cupcakes _ vodka. Emma, if you see this, run for the fucking hills. Men who are almost 40 marry 27-year-olds often because they are manipulative and going to pull shit a woman his age won't put up with. He's too old for you. You are seeing signs of this behavior now. $950 for a wedding dress ain't shit. He is already trying to control and manipulate you and your finances, and you aren't even married yet. Don't go through with it. AP, you're a massive asshole and she shouldn't marry you. OP, wow, thanks. Seriously, she has been keeping up with this thread because she told me not to take it down. She wanted to read the replies, and now she's blocked me on Messenger and my calls go to voicemail. So thanks a lot. Everyone couldn't have left it at Ida. Legitimately out for blood. Mob mentality if ever I saw it. To the bride, I will change the name despite his inability to do the same. I don't really care if he sees this, but he isn't sub to relationships. I literally don't know where to start. My fiancés will call Greg. I don't know what came over him. It's completely insane. We are getting married this summer. The argument started over my wedding dress. I picked a very simple and traditional gown that was already discounted as it is an X-sample gown. My absolute idiot decided to post to a subreddit asking for opinions or more likely validation on whether it was being unreasonable. My dress is under $1,000 but will come to around $1,500 with alterations. We have over $7,000 left over in our budget. That's another thing that seriously upset me that he lied in his post multiple times. I make a much higher salary than him, so we agreed he would put $5,000 towards the wedding, and I put in the rest, but why lie? Do I ask opinions if you've skewed the details? I had absolutely no problem with this, as he makes just above the minimum wage. So the thread got way too much attention. I had already gone to my parents because I was angry about him calling me immature and shouting about me being spoiled. I also happened to find the thread shortly after he made it because not only did he use my real name, his throwaway was his real name followed by his alarm pin. He sent me a text saying that he wasn't the asshole in this situation, and I just knew he would post it on Reddit. It's not the first time he's posted on Reddit about stuff. But nothing of this magnitude. Anyway, I don't know what to do. There are people online now claiming to be me, and it's been shared on Twitter and Facebook, and I'm just absolutely mortified. He got totally hammered last night and called my parents. And my dad had to hang up on him because he was screaming down the phone, and my mom was disgusted. I can't get my money back on the venue or anything. I recently started taking antidepressants because I've been feeling low, but now I just feel empty. I just feel empty. Dear me, Dad, be seen mall. By the way, beat. Wait, can't get my money back on the vessel. So this whole thing was about the cost of my dress, and he suggested I use the Wish app to get an identical gown. First, he refused to listen to me, saying that Wish is garbage, but he also argued it to death in the comments. I read every single comment in that thread, and it was like being punched in the gut. I can't get over the odd lies either. He gave out my real name and his butt lied about the gap and budget. I am 23, he is 43 admittedly, he looks much, much younger, and for the first few weeks dating, I thought he was in his early 30s. We also have only been together a year. Not 2 years, I think he said, and I'm starting to think this was all too fast. I need help, I need advice. I know I'm quite possibly pot calling the kettle by posting to Reddit, but I post here a lot usually anyway. And all the fake accounts claiming to be me might throw him off anyway. I might be slow replying as I start work in an hour. Thanks all ex tell Dr. Fiance posted to Reddit to get opinions on the price of my wedding dress, but used my real name and it all blew up. Both people are creating fake accounts pretending to be me, and he has devolved to calling me names and getting drunk and calling my family. He also lied about a lot of details in the post. How do I handle this calmly? 3 months later, to ex-fiance made a post. A few months back, I was going to be married, and long story short, things were called off. She wanted to end things, I didn't. And I feel like I've lost all of my trust in women. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I was dating someone called Isabel until last week. She's really amazing and kind, but the second she heard about my ex and the fiasco that surrounded it, she ghosted me. And it becomes a pattern. At some point, no matter how close we get, they hear about it from a friend, it comes up somehow and they bail. I just want to know how to behave or what I can do to make things work. My last gave Casey, when she broke up with me, she said that I hadn't changed from who I was when my fiance left me. But I have. I hardly drink at all now. My job is steady and I'm a good guy. But I think the issue is that I'm suffering from small town syndrome. Everyone knows everyone here back ass words, little town it is. Please give me advice on putting this behind me. I am honestly desperate. My life was about to move towards a phase and now I'm stuck in limbo. I need a girl to fill that place so I can move forward with my life. Financial infidelity or double standards. When his luxury hobbies are fine, but my $5,000 gaming step is too much. I spend some of our savings on my own hobbies, and my husband accused me of financial infidelity, despite his luxury hobbies, such as golf. To me, 33 female and my husband, 33 male, have been married for 10 years, together since college. Since starting out, we have made financial security a priority and have been able to achieve that, albeit with some good luck along the way. So we both have good jobs, paying close to $200,000 each. Student loans were paid off within a few years, both went to state schools with some scholarships, so didn't have a lot of debt to begin with. We live in a house I inherited from my grandmother, no mortgage, and don't have any credit card debt. We max out our 401,000s and currently have 18 months of expenses in our emergency fund and are still adding to it. Our cars are both paid off and should be good for another 5+ years, and we don't have any credit card debt. So we manage our finances in a hybrid manner, joint accounts for bills and savings, and separate accounts for our fund money. We each get a pretty generous monthly allotment. So the fund money is strictly for our individual expenses, hobbies, clothes, outings with friends, etc. And not for things like date nights, vacations, or larger joint purchases like household appliances and repairs which come out of our joint account. We also agreed that if either of us gets any bonuses or has any side hustle income, those will go into our individual fund money accounts unless the funds are needed for a larger expense such as a major home repair. In terms of the fund money, my husband is much more of a spender than I am due to expensive hobbies, in particular golf and collecting sports memorabilia, and he's also more into designer clothes, which is fine, it's his fund money. On the other hand, my hobbies are a lot less less expensive, running, working out, reading, baking. In general, I'm more introverted, and a great time for me is tea with a friend at one of our homes with homemade pastries. I have also been getting back into gaming lately after setting it aside for much of the past decade while building my career. After realizing I had more than enough in my fund money account, I decided to overhaul my gaming setup and got myself a new PC-esque and gaming chair, total cost of about $5,000. However, upon hearing about the purchase, my husband is furious. He says he had no idea I had saved so much money and that I should have consulted him before spending $5,000. I asked what difference it made if it was my own accrued fund money and not our joint funds, and he insisted that my accumulating this amount without telling him was a form of financial infidelity. He says he lost trust in me and doesn't know what else I might be hiding. He is demanding that I return the items I purchased and deposit most of the funds to our joint account. He wants to make a new rule that fund money accounts can't accumulate more than $2,000 and that any excess goes back to the joint account, a rule that would obviously favor him as a person who spends most of his allotment each month instead of saving up for anything bigger. I feel like I am being punished for being more of a day-to-day saver than spender. It wouldn't occur to me to demand to know how much my husband has in his fund money account, or to try to micromanage what he spends it on. I wasn't hiding anything deliberately. He never asked about it until after I made the purchases. Still, maybe I should have been more transparent about my plans. So am I the Arshol. Miscellaneous info: husband and I each have our own office, hobby room in the house, so it's not like the gaming setup was going in a space he uses. I don't usually game when my husband is home, unless he's already busy doing something else. My biggest block of gaming time is typically when he's off playing golf. Also, I run 50 miles a week, so it's not like I'm generally sedentary. I can't think of a good reason why he would object to me gaming or having a nice gaming setup in my own space in the house. Comments and OP's replies. A commenter asked OP, "Girl, what does he actually contribute to your household?" OPen replied, "Perhaps because I'm home all the time, having a very tidy home and fresh cooked meals is a priority for me. I primarily do those things for me and not for him, even though he benefits as well. I'd still have to cook and clean if I were living in the house by myself, unless I wanted to hire someone to do those things, but I don't, as I genuinely enjoy cooking and housework. We do have breakfast together most days unless he has to leave early, dinner together most days, and weekend date or activity time in addition to pursuing our own hobbies. He's smart, hilarious, and a delightful companion, at least other than this latest issue. I realize I haven't emphasized the positive in this thread, because I've been pretty pissed, but other than this, he has been a great partner and husband. People are confused on how much money they have, so OP elaborates. Together we have joint cash savings of $250,000, plus retirement savings approaching the 7-figure mark. When asked could he be hiding a debt gambling addiction, OP replied, "I manage all our bank accounts and check them daily, and also handle all the bill pay." Nothing suspicious so far. He admits he's not great with money and would spend more without a budget. Update 1: 8 days later, my husband finally calmed down enough to have a conversation with me. As many others who provided comments suggested, it wasn't really about the money, but a window into larger issues in our relationship. Essentially, my husband has been feeling increasingly unhappy with me for a while for the following reasons. In general, he feels that he's a lot more committed to his career development than I am to mine. So it's true that although we currently have about the same income, the ceiling for his field, finance, is a lot higher than the one for mine, tech software dev. He's currently in an executive training program, and I'm decidedly not. He's feeling resentful that he's having to work long hours in a high-pressure environment, while I get to work primarily at home doing something that is fun and fairly easy for. He's concerned that over time these resentments are going to build, and that I'm not going to end up pulling my weight financially if he takes huge leaps in his career, and I don't. He remarked that, since getting back into gaming a few months ago, I have been putting a bit less effort into cooking. I do nearly all the cooking because I work at home and have an easier schedule. So it's true that I've been fixing simpler meals, things like grilled chicken salad or sale with cornbread, instead of elaborate meals with fussier foods and several sides. So he has also noticed that I haven't been doing the elaborate table settings I used to, with flowers on the table, fancy placements, a classy. Honestly, I didn't realize he noticed or cared about this, but apparently he does. Acts of service are one of his main love languages, so overall he's feeling a little neglected because of this. He also feels I'm not putting enough effort into my appearance. Not in terms of weight body, I'm a long-distance runner and slim, but in terms of things like clothes, hair, etc. So it's true that I've never paid much attention to these things, given that I work at home and tech's standard for appearances is extremely low, and I far exceed that. I tend to buy simple, practical clothes at places like Target and Walmart, don't wear much makeup, and keep my hair in a simple ponytail. I do glam up a lot more for date nights and other dressy occasions, but most days he comes home from work to find me in a t-shirt and yoga pants with no makeup, and he wants me to make more of an effort. The bottom line is that because of all these things, he's starting to notice other women. Says he hasn't cheated, he's just noticing other people because he's regularly disappointed in me. In particular, given that he works in finance, there are a good number of very career-oriented, type A women who manage to have fantastic bodies, be effortlessly polished and glam, and have more interesting hobbies. Or, he also says he feels horrible about all this because he knows I'm a good person and that he's being judgmental. Said it's not so much I've changed as that his own goals and expectations have changed in the past couple years. The financial infidelity part came into it because he feels I'm not really investing in myself and our relationship, thus cheating on our future in a sense. Bafel is a Croatia. I prepped her in a sense. He also says he loves me enough to be honest. I do believe he isn't trying to be hurtful. And I really had to drag all this out of him, that he doesn't want us to drift apart further, that he doesn't want to be angry and resentful, and he knows he is asking for a lot. I know that many on this sub might say I should just tell him to take a hike and call my lawyer, but we've been married for 10 years, have invested a lot in the relationship, and I want to see if the marriage can be saved. So a couple things. First, we made an appointment with a marriage counselor and started next week. Also, I'm going to try to do at least some of the above. I'm not sure about making myself be more professionally ambitious when I'm already happy with my work-life balance and we're already financially very comfortable, but I can at least try doing the other things. Should return to spending more time on cooking and decor and fix myself up a bit when he's on his way home from work, now that I know they are important to him. I also know that in the end, I may feel like I am just tiptoeing around and contorting myself to please him, but it won't cost me much. Certainly much less than a divorce, to try for a month or two and then see how we both feel. And I know I would always regret it if I didn't try. So maybe not the update that you were expecting or hoping for, but that's where things are. And if folks continue to be interested, I can update further once we have started marriage counseling and once I can feel out how the changes are going. The other deaths, during hours of wardens. I need to call it a night, but once again, thank you to everyone for your responses. So they were really eye-opening and helped me to see that I do deserve better than the way I am being treated, and that the expectations my husband is laying out for me are unfair and unrealistic, especially as he isn't doing anything at all to make it easier for me to meet them or to show me he appreciates my efforts and everything I do bring to the table. I am indeed conditioned to be very people-pleasing, and that is impacting what I think is reasonable here. I have a lot to think about, such as, what do I really want here? What is going to make me happy, especially if I have to keep making myself smaller, metaphorically speaking, and contorting myself to please my husband? Do I really want to be in a marriage under those conditions? I think I'm really selling myself short if I just agreed to most of what he demands. Still going to go to the marriage counseling appointment, but I think I will wait to make any other changes until we can at least get some professional input. Many of OP's comments before her edit are her explaining why she will do what her husband has requested. Here is an example. Thanks. The things I am willing to do at the moment won't take very much in terms of time, and if they genuinely make him feel more appreciated and cared for, they will absolutely be worth it. I want to show my husband that I am hearing him and taking his concerns and feeling seriously enough to at least try to make an effort in what he asked. If it doesn't work, it doesn't, and we can still separate a couple or a few months down the road, but I would definitely regret not even trying. Update 2. So the more I thought about it, the more his demands really, were sitting poorly with me. I decided to try a little experiment over the weekend to see what would happen if I tried to meet some of his demands. Not because I actually thought they were reasonable, but because I increasingly had the sense that the goalposts would just keep moving and that I was playing a losing game. So, Saturday morning, I went to the salon for a glow-up, haircut, fresh highlights, mani, PD, then went to the farmer's market to pick up fresh flowers for our table and assorted other gourmet ingredients. Saturday is usually our date night out, but I suggested we stay in so I could make us a special dinner, steakhouse-style lobster bisque, bread basket with rice of several types of rolls, savory muffins made from scratch, crab stuffed mushrooms, filet mignon of potatoes, white chocolate mousse topped with raspberries. I wore lavender, his favorite color on me, sheath dress and high heels and fully done hair and makeup. For all that I got a lukewarm thanks, it was tasty, and a kiss on the cheek. Of course, I did all the serving and clean up. Sunday, we usually go out, but he suggested I make us brunch at home. So I made French press coffee, mimosas with fresh squeezed orange juice, Belgian waffles with a bananas Foster topping, eggs scrambled with parmesan and fresh herbs from our garden, roasted fingerling potatoes, and maple glazed bacon. I wore a blue sleeveless dress, wedge sandals, again did my hair and makeup. Again, I got a thanks. It's good, and no help with serving or cleanup. Afterwards, I asked if this is what he had in mind when he critiqued me before. He said that it was a start, but that I was acting very entitled for wanting credit for basic adulting. He then dropped a bomb that he was being so hard on me because he had realized lately I had a lot to make up for due to my being a low-value woman. I asked what on earth he meant by that, and he said it was because I wasn't a virgin when we met. What? Keep in mind we started dating at 21. Neither of us claimed to be virgins or stated that as an expectation. Except for very religious people, neither of us is. I don't think most 21-year-old college students are virgins. I was upfront with him then that I'd had 2 previous partners, my high school boyfriend. We went our separate ways when we went to different colleges in different parts of the country, and another boyfriend I'd had my first year of college. And that's it, both committed relationships and nothing casual. He then went on to say that because of my low value, I was going to need to be making it up to him for the rest of my life. That I didn't deserve monogamy or equal treatment, and that I was lucky that anyone at all wanted to marry me. And that he's connected with someone from work, so if I wanted to keep him, I'd better step up. I told him it didn't sound like there was anything to keep if he no longer loved me, or even liked or respected me. Told him to leave, and he said he would gladly go to his girlfriend's place. I know so many people here insisted he was having an affair, and I just didn't want to see it. That his complaints were really all part of a campaign to distance himself from me. I feel so foolish for just thinking he was going through a stressful time at work, or that he genuinely wanted to work on our marriage. Anyway, I have taken the week off from work to get my head together. Have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow. Canceled the marriage counseling appointment, but got a referral to an individual therapist who can do an intake session with me later in the week. He and the girlfriend apparently are coming this evening to get more of his clothes and things, so I have to brace myself for that. I also, please be assured, I do not think I'm low value in any way. I let my husband make me think less of myself on some levels for a short time, but now I truly see it was a him problem. Obviously, we don't share the same goals and values, and he has become someone I don't recognize. I know the divorce won't be fun or easy, but I will be okay. Thank you all for helping me see that I was being played before I wasted too much more time in a marriage that was already over. Comments and OP's replies. A commenter said, a spouse who is having an affair starts criticizing aspects of the betrayed spouse's appearance, taste, upbringing, values, and background that were never an issue before he or she chose to stray as, in their warped perception, justification for cheating. I will bet you moons, a bakery treat from my childhood home, that OOP's non-virginity was not a true problem for her stips or he never would have married her. He simply latched onto it as rationalization for his outrageous demands, a deflection from his infidelity, because it's something that she cannot change. I would say that he is the low-value partner. OP replied, yes, this completely makes sense now. Initially, he started criticizing things that had never been an issue before, but that would hurt my feelings. But ultimately, they were things I could change if I wanted to, my appearance, cooking, housekeeping effort, and even my career aspirations. When he found I did making a quick effort to change some of those things, appearance, cooking, and housekeeping, he moved to criticizing something I cannot ever change, my sexual history, something he could hold over me forever if I stayed in the relationship. It's very clear now and scary how he was able to erode my self-esteem and confidence to the point that I actually believed a lot of his BS, until he took it too far. Update 3. Hi all, I wasn't going to post another update, at least not this soon, but have gotten dozens of DM/messages asking if I'm okay and how things are going, so this is specifically in response to those who are checking in on me. Folks have been asking me this week how things went with him picking up his stuff, meeting with my lawyer, etc., so wanted to share those updates for anyone interested. So he was supposed to come get his stuff on Tuesday evening, a couple days ago, but told me at the last minute he couldn't because Amy, his girlfriend, wasn't feeling well. Some people called in the comments, but yes, she's pregnant apparently. He told me this on text, so I have proof of the affair in writing now. It's not just his word against mine. So anyway, I didn't want him to keep jerking me around on the schedule, for whatever reason, so I told him I'd pack his stuff for him and arrange for movers. I think it's better that way. I really didn't want them in the house. So I already had arranged for a friend to come over on Tuesday, when he and Amy were supposed to come by. So the two of us spent the evening packing his clothes and other personal effects. So the movers came yesterday and got the boxes and the furniture items he wanted. He didn't want much, just the stuff from his home office and his dresser, as apparently Amy's apartment is small. I provided a detailed inventory and photos of everything, which he approved, so he can't say that I broke or otherwise ruined his stuff. After that, yesterday, I went to the clinic to get STD tests. Won't have the results for a week or so, but thankfully I haven't had any symptoms. And met with my lawyer, who said I had a good case for grounds of adultery and mental cruelty if I need to go that route. At a minimum, it's leverage to get him to settle quickly and quietly. Also lock down all the finances within the parameters provided by the lawyer so that he can't empty our joint funds or take anything that belongs to me, changed account beneficiaries and all that fun stuff. Changed the locks to the house too. I decided to take the advice of some of the commenters and am getting rid of the bed and other bedroom furniture I shared with him. I'm donating it, someone is coming this afternoon to haul it all off, and I'm going to completely redecorate the bedroom to my own taste. That will take a bit, staying in one of the guest rooms in the meantime. I'm also taking a spa weekend away, leaving tomorrow morning and back Sunday night, just to get a change of scenery before I have to go back to work next week. And yes, even after buying the gaming setup, I have plenty of fun money left in my account to afford my lawyer's retainer and redoing the bedroom as well as my getaway, with plenty left over. Here's to frugality when it counts. Those are the main updates for the moment. I'm doing better than expected, I think, and realizing more day by day. that it really wasn't a good marriage, at least not for the last couple years, when he started expecting me to do everything around the house and all the other emotional labor of running our lives outside of work, with no help and little to no gratitude. Amy Shore is going to have her hands full, comments and OP's replies, the incoming child. Also, he was hardcore child-free before. I didn't want kids either, but he was especially militant about it. I mean, maybe he changed his mind, but it doesn't seem like this was exactly a planned pregnancy. Plus, he can't even be bothered to put his own laundry in the hamper or put a dish in the dishwasher. How's he going to deal with an infant? Anyway, not really my problem, and I guess he'll figure it out. Or not. Is he her superior or at work? My understanding is that they are peers. He isn't her boss. I don't think it is against the rules for co-workers of the same level to date. At least not as some of our, well, his really friends met at work there, and it wasn't an issue. So for that reason, I think I'll stay out of it, especially as I do want him to stay gainfully employed until the divorce is completely final. Still, I agree it's awfully foolish to have an affair at work that results in a pregnancy while one of the people is still married. I mean, you can't hide that messiness. It's going to be physically obvious. Further info on that, right? It's probably going to cause some drama at the office, but isn't fireable unless they do something even more foolish like getting caught in the act at work. As far as I know, nothing like that happened. When he was disclosing the affair the other day, he said that he often went to her place after work when he was supposedly working late, and sometimes on Saturdays instead of playing golf. How is a 24-year-old making the same amount of money as they are both in an executive training program for fairly recent MBA graduates? Amy is apparently some sort of prodigy who got hers at 21. My Steep started out in supply chain management, then the company paid for his MBA, which he finished a couple years ago, and after that, he moved to the finance side and was accepted into the training program earlier this year. She's 24, apparently graduated from college at 18 and got her MBA at 21. And he just got his MBA a couple years ago and was on a different business operations track before switching to finance. Once again, I cannot thank everyone here enough. I need to get ready for my spa weekend away. So apologies if I have not responded to your comment or DM, but I am really grateful for all the support and encouragement. Hopefully there won't be any more notable updates for a while. I really just want a smooth and easy divorce and to get on with my life. So please keep your fingers crossed for me. Update 4, I'm updating again here because a lot of kind people have been checking in with well wishes and to see how I'm holding up. Sorry for not updating sooner, but as soon as I got back from the spa weekend I mentioned in my last update, I dove into working with my attorney on the divorce settlement and didn't think it wise to put my business on the internet. However, anonymously, with the legal issues up in the air, the good news is that we were able to come to an agreement pretty quickly and everything is now executed. Just waiting for the court date, which could take another couple months, but my lawyer says the agreement is airtight. It wasn't quite as favorable as most of you all lovely folks probably would have wanted for me, but I was highly motivated to get it done fast. I did get everything that really mattered to me. First, the house I inherited from my grandmother is 100% mine, along with all the furnishings and other effects in the house. My own retirement accounts and my fun money account are all mine as well. Otherwise, I did have to give him 75% of the other cash assets. Although he wasn't on the title for the house, he did contribute substantially to the large renovation we did, as well as to upkeep since then. And the house appreciated very substantially in the years since we moved in. It's fine as I still have plenty of money, especially as I'm quite frugal most of the time, and can rebuild cash savings quickly. Our agreement also states that neither of us has a claim on each other's past, present, or future earnings. So in case something happens and he loses his job before the court date, I won't be liable for any alimony. This is actually overall a very good deal for me and gives me a lot of security. In case anyone is wondering how we got this done so quickly, our state allows divorce on mutual consent grounds, which basically allows for a quick divorce without a legal separation period if the parties come to an agreement about all the finances or assets. Given that Amy is pregnant, my soon-to-be ex, let's call him Joe, yes, like the psychopath in the show You, was also very motivated to not drag this out. So now for the real dirt of this update, last weekend, shortly after all our papers were signed, Amy reached out to me. She asked if we could meet and talk. Perhaps I should have declined, but I will admit I was curious about the 24-year-old prodigy and until recently a virgin who was Joe's affair partner, so I agreed to meet her for lunch. So the first thing is, Amy is very pregnant, like the 3rd trimester. She confirmed she is due in mid-October, which means the affair has been going on a whole lot longer than Joe let on. So whatever, it's water under the bridge as the divorce is almost final. However, after some polite but chilly pleasantries, she asked me, when am I going to be moving out of the house? Because surely Joe has been patient enough with giving me time to get my life together, and her apartment is small and they are needing space for the baby. What? I told her she must be mistaken as the house is mine, inherited from my, but asked her, what else has Joe told her about me and our marriage? And lie after lie, Joe's lies, that is, tumbled out of her mouth, along with crumbs of the real story. So these gems include, well, it was true that she and Joe met at work, but it was about a year ago when they were both interviewing for the executive training program they are now in. Amy said, though, that they first became friends before getting together romantically. Apparently, Joe told her that he was legally married, but that we had been separated in spirit and living separate lives since 2020. But he didn't want to kick me out and make me homeless during the pandemic because I didn't make much money and we live in HCOL. Joe told Amy that we met in our early 20s when he was mentoring me in a GED prep program, that I was a high school dropout who was struggling with addiction, and essentially, that he rescued me. It helped me get clean, tutored me for my GED, and had been supporting me since gradually working on college classes. He told Amy I was working on prepping for an IT career and was currently making $45,000 as a help desk technician, and that he wanted to make sure I could at least view a apartment. He also told Amy that we had separated because I had relapsed and he couldn't have a meaningful relationship with a drug addict. All this is lies. My entire history of drug use is occasionally sharing a joint in college, maybe 4 or 5 times total, never anything harder. It is true that Amy was a 24-year-old virgin prodigy. She seemed dismayed that Joe had told me that, though at least the virgin part. Said it wasn't a moral issue, she really was just focused on school and work and didn't make time to date. And that generally guys her age seemed mostly interested in casual hookups, especially the younger finance bro types, and she wasn't interested in that, but that Joe took the time to get to know her and was actually interested in a meaningful relationship. I asked her if the pregnancy was planned. She said no, of course not, but it was a miracle because Joe had a vasectomy, so they took that as a sign that they should keep the baby. No, Joe did not have a vasectomy. Aseptomy to be a child-free couple, I suggested it a couple times over the years. He firmly stated he didn't want to alter his body like that, so he left birth control as my responsibility. So IT really does seem that Amy is pretty blameless here. I mean, those of us who have been around the block would likely know not to believe a guy who claims to be separated but is still legally married and living with his wife, but without her having any dating relationship experience, I can see where she would have taken him at his word about everything. After all, I didn't know anything was amiss with Joe until a couple months ago. And I was married to him. Of course, Amy didn't want to believe me, and I don't blame her for that either. After all, she's been in a relationship with Joe for close to a year, and is 7+ months pregnant with his baby, who is coming soon, ready or not. I couldn't immediately refute everything she said, but showed her a couple things. First, a picture of me in my late teens with my grandmother in front of my house, and also my LinkedIn profile, which shows my current job and education. Told her to do what she wanted with the info and to please stay safe and take care of herself, and then said my goodbyes. Yes, it was all very odd and unexpected and surreal. Sorry this is so long, but figured those following my tale would be interested in this turn. I am not sure if I will update again, maybe in a year or so, when I have truly processed everything with lots of therapy, and am hopefully on to living my best life. As for Joe and Amy, it's up to them to find whatever their path is. I do hope she wises up and leaves him, but I'm sadly not confident about that. I'm sure he will be able to spin all this in his favor because that's what he does. But I also can't make it my problem anymore. Comments and OP's replies. When asked, how did she take it when you said you owned the house? OP replied she didn't really believe me about the house and said she was going to have to talk to Joe about it. She said she hoped I would think about it and not be so stubborn, and that the offer remains open to take the money she offered to move out by the end of September. So when asked, maybe the reason he didn't have more fun money was that he was spending it on her. OP replied, oh yes, definitely. A lot of the golf days were actually spent with her, not golfing, and he only played golf once or twice a month, not weekly as he represented to me. Apparently, he convinced her that the reason he could never spend the night with her during most of the past year before he moved in with her was that I tended to get high in the evenings and he was always worried I was wadododi if he wasn't there to keep an eye on me. So when asked, did you tell her he didn't really have a vasectomy? OP replied, I did tell her, but her answer to that was to insist that he did have one, he just didn't want to tell me. Because he had only gotten one, because although he did want kids, he didn't want to bring them into the world with a drug addict spouse. Final update, 3 months after the last update. So last time I updated, we had thankfully quickly agreed on a divorce settlement that allowed me to protect my most important assets, and I had just met with his mistress, Amy, at her request, at which time it was made clear that he had lied to her about numerous circumstances, such as that our home belonged to him. It did not. I inherited it from my grandmother, that I was an underemployed high school dropout drug addict. I'm not. I have a master's degree and a high-paying tech job. That we'd been separated in spirit for years, also not true. I didn't know anything until he blurted out the news about his affair over the summer. And that he had a vasectomy. He did not. We talked about it, but he decided not to despite us. Him in particular, not wanting kids. I told her the truth and even provided as much evidence as I had on me, but she didn't seem to believe me and went home to Joe. So I know quite a few people have been reaching out for more news, but I wanted to wait until my divorce was finalized to avoid risking any complications, and also just thought it best to let things settle for a bit. So the good news is, I'm now divorced. The final decree came through a few weeks ago. It actually all went very smoothly. I'm eternally grateful to live in a mutual consent divorce state that allows divorcing couples to proceed quickly if they can come to an agreement on finances and property. So on the Joe-Amy front, after my last post, all was quiet for a couple weeks until Amy, her due date quickly approaching, reached out again, to ask if I'd given any more thought to her offer to pay me $17,000 to vacate the house quickly so that she and Joe could move in. Again, this is the house I inherited that I own free and clear, but Joe told her he owns it and that he was just giving me time to get my finances together before evicting me. So at this point, I decided to package up a lot more evidence of Joe's lies to send on to Amy. So I sent her a copy of the deed and property tax record showing the house is in my name only. I sent her copies of my diplomas to prove I am not a high school dropout. I sent her some info on various professional associations I'm involved in and awards I have won to show I actually do have a senior level job and am not underemployed, as well as proof of my income. I sent her copies of all my drug test results. For the past 5 years, I have a drug-free workplace and have to test 2-3 times a year to show I am not an addict. I sent her time-stamped photos and text exchanges to show that Joe was still having a romantic relationship with me until July this year. Nothing salacious, just photos of us showing G-rated affection, exchanging loving words over text. I even found a text exchange from a couple years ago when we last discussed him potentially getting a vasectomy, with his final decision not to proceed with one. A couple days later, she responded she believed me. However, in the end, it didn't matter, as Joe convinced her he had lied for very good reasons. The way they both tell the story, they met at work and were incredibly drawn to each other in a way that felt inevitable. However, due to Joe being married, he felt that if Amy knew he was, to that point, happily married, she would either turn away from him and miss out on the love of a lifetime, or she would go ahead with an affair but be consumed with guilt. So, to avoid either of these outcomes, and especially to save Amy from guilt, Joe decided to create an alternative narrative in which he was in a marriage that had ended for all intents and purposes years ago, in all ways but legally, because I was an uneducated addict who kept relapsing and couldn't get my life together. That was she could essentially believe he was single. How noble of Joe to bear all the guilt alone. Unfortunately, Amy said she understood and forgave him immediately. With a baby day any day, I suppose I can sort of understand the desire to justify the lies, even though the reality is horrifying. I suppose it's also not my problem anymore. Amy did have her baby over a month ago, and I guess she and Joe will make whatever life together or not is meant to be. As for me, I'm doing very well. Actually got a big promotion at work, not managing people, which I don't want to do, but will be working on higher profile projects with a 40% raise, which starts after the new year. The house is really big for just me, so I have a couple roommates now. A friend who is also going through a divorce moved in, as well as a younger, mid-20s cousin who moved to the city for work. We're all having a lot of fun together. I'm not really ready to date yet, still in therapy processing all the marital fallout, but getting there and looking forward to whatever new adventures life has to offer. This will probably be my last post in this series anyway, as the saga of Joe and Amy, or at least my role in it, is finished. With us legally divorced and having no ongoing financial or other ties, the best thing I can do is leave them to their own story and get on with my Joe-free next phase. Thank you all for listening to my story for much of 2023.